Welcome back to ATL Day Ones. I am Tenitra. That is Jarvis. And this is the show that now you can check out on Amazon Fire and Roku, in addition to everywhere else you download your podcast. And wherever you go, keep giving us 5-star reviews and letting people know about the show, because we love it when you guys support us the way that you have been doing. Keep doing that for us. Even on YouTube, getting us close to 4,000 subscribers as a Locked On Sports Atlanta network. That is all because you guys have rocked with us from day one, and you continue to rock with us. So speaking of a day one, day one of this week, Jarvis put out there that our word was going to be progression. So we are
Yes.
going to keep with that theme, because we started yesterday, but kind of like a Baptist preacher, we didn't kind of finish the sermon. So here we come back with part 2 of the sermon on progression. And we're going to go to the wide receiver core, because somebody seems to be showing himself to have progressed very, very quickly and established himself. And that's none other than Drake London. Looks like he progressed even from what we saw in training camp to just that hint of him in preseason. Of course, just that little hint of him in game 1. But even from week 1 to week 2, has he progressed right into that wide receiver 1 spot?
I think so. We talking about 13 catches and 160 yards, 12 averaging over a first down at 12 yards per catch, and he got his first touchdown against the Los Angeles Rams. And I think that when you think about what that means, right, for you to get this early return on a top 10 pick, right? Because I know that I was one of them. I raised my hand. I was against them drafting another pass catcher. I was all in on Panay Sewell. Give me somebody that can doggone protect the quarterback, or that can sack the quarterback. Or Jermaine Johnson was my love. I wanted Jermaine Johnson. I don't have no problem saying that, because hey, I'm confident in mine. But I think that when you think about Drake, the way Drake London has stepped into this bad boy, right? Because Kyle Pitts was the guy. He was the number 4 overall pick, and he was the unicorn and all that stuff. But for him to be able to come in, with being out for so long in the preseason, and people just doubting all type of injuries, and the Falcons and Terry Fontenot, like they should have done their research. This guy had been injured, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? For him to put all that aside and come in and say, you know what, I'm about to put in this work, and I'm about to take advantage of some things that might be opening up because of Kyle Pitts. And I think that, yes, a long story short, to say, yes, I think Drake London is wide receiver 1 in this offense. And I think that as the season goes along, we may start to see some of that attention start to go towards him and start to open up things for Kyle Pitts as the season goes along.
Which would be a wonderful thing, because, of course, we'll talk about that in a moment. But that's where the question comes. Where's KP and what's going on with KP? But Drake London being in that position of wide receiver 1 has really, really shined in that role. And think about it. Week 1 and week 2, he's going up against some of the best secondaries the league has to offer, and held his own. And the other thing, you make a great point, is this. If Kyle Pitts is doubled, and that then leaves you a little bit more open, you still have to deliver. Not everybody's still able to say, oh, wow, I'm wide open and I'm delivering. There were moments where I think many of us were either in the press box screaming, in our heads, of course, but maybe screaming at our TVs and saying, get it to 5. Look at Drake. He's out there. Because Drake was finding ways to get open even when the ball wasn't there for him, saying to us, hey, I know how to run my route. I know where I'm supposed to be. I know how to spring myself and get open so that my quarterback has at least the opportunity to get the ball to me. That's a very, very mature mindset to have so early on in his career. But when you think about the fact that here we are with a rookie who's wide receiver 1. What does that say about the rest of the wide receiver room? We'll talk about that in a moment. But before we tell you what we think about the rest of the wide receiver room, we certainly are going to tell you a little bit about what we think on Coffee AM.
CoffeeAM.com/locked on is the website that you need to go to. Now I'm about to tell you why you need to go there, because Coffee A came here. That's me. That's Jarvis. I'm Jarvis Davis. I'm Jarvis, that guy. They're always talking about the coffee, right? So the first thing that I'm actually kind of geeked up right now, because I literally just had a fresh cup of Tanzania Peaberry
I can
That
tell.
sounds very interesting. Yes, because it's starting to kick in. I'm starting to really
Yes,
feel
it
it.
is.
I was a little concerned at first, T, because I didn't feel it at first. I was like, "What's going on? I got my coffee AM in me. I don't feel it,
Right.
but now I'm feeling it. I'm getting the jitters. I'm going crazy right now because I'm trying to tell you guys about why you need to go there. Because this is the best small batch coffee roaster in the entire country, and it's right here in your backyard, right here for you guys in the state of Georgia. If you're not in Georgia, go to the website. They'll send it your way as well. And guess what? I don't care where you are. It's going to be absolutely fresh when it gets to your
Yes.
door because they make it when you order it. So if you want to go to the website right now, coffeeam.com/locked on, and put in the coupon code box locked on, and you're going to get 15% off of all coffee gift sets and teas. If you're not into the coffee, go
Right.
ahead and mess with the teas. If you're not into the teas, go and get a gift set for that special someone. You might be want to get some attention from somebody. You never know. It's about that time. It's almost cuffing season. So hey, go ahead and get you right. So let me get up out of this read before I get somebody in trouble. So all right, so 15% off, dropping the coupon code locked on, and you're gonna get 15% off. Go ahead and pull up on the best small batch coffee roaster in the entire country.
Right. And so Jarvis and I have obviously pulled up in our support of Drake London and our belief that he is wide receiver one. But to me, Jarvis, that then begs the question when you look at the rest of the wide receiver room, who is now the real wide receiver two? Are we looking at Brian Edwards? Are we looking at OZ, Kadero Hodge? I mean, who is that next guy outside of Kyle Pitts? Because we're not talking tight ends here. We're talking
Yeah.
wide receiver room
Yes.
where if Marcus Mariota goes through his progressions and goes through his reads, and Drake London's not available, who's his next reliable, most viable threat?
It has to be Cardell Hodge because there was one particular play. Oh my goodness, it's just amazing how people kind of like have to at least listen to the people that draw up these plays and when it comes to Arthur Smith, and I know sometimes he can come off as a little ornery, but hey, the man knows what he's talking about, right? So there was one particular play where Kyle Pitts was pushing up the seam, and Cardell Hodge had came from the slot on the opposite side of the field. And soon as Kyle Pitts pushed up the seam, he drew the linebacker and that underneath corner that was sitting right there, and Cardell Hodge came right up underneath. And guess what? Marcus Mariota hit him right there. It was wide open, and then Cardell Hodge did his yak thing because I think that, when you have a guy who can take advantage of those ops when it comes to other people drawing coverage your way. But that's what you look for in a wide receiver too, right?
Yes.
Because like I said, like you mentioned, we understand what Kyle Pitts is. Like he's wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1. He's a second option a lot of times or the
Yes.
first option in particular play calls. But when he starts to draw that attention, you got to have guys step up and do that. And I think Cardell Hodge has been that guy consistently over these first 2 games.
And to know that there's one more guy out there that you can rely on, and I'm going to keep calling it out, the low red zone.
Yes.
If you have someone who could deliver in the low red zone, then that to me, like you said, is your wide receiver too. But you also made a great point about the fact that he's wide receiver two in the wide receiver room, but weapon number one to Drake London's two, I still think is Kyle Pitts.
Right.
So that's the big question on everybody's mind. Now that we have seen what Drake London can do and take advantage of the double teams that KP gets, and now that we've seen what Kadero Hodge can even do, what does that mean for Kyle Pitts as far as the big thing that people want to know about, which is targets and touchdowns?
You know what? I think, to be honest with you, I'm not sitting up here saying that Arthur Smith doesn't want to get Kyle Pitts the football, right? So I started to do a little digging and dig a little deeper, right? Because I'm not a service guy. I like to kind of dive into this bad boy. So I went back. I watched the first 3 quarters. I still got to get to the fourth quarter. Kind of waiting for the all 22 so I can get to the fourth quarter and start really doing my research. But I went through the first 3 quarters of the game, and because I wonder why. I was wondering why Kyle Pitts wasn't getting the football, and I think that a lot of the times when Marcus Mariota in non-play action and rollout situations, the man tends to lock on receivers.
Yes.
So I think that you have to be able to go through your progressions when you're talking about getting certain people to football. A lot of times you got to be able to look people off. And if you're going to Kyle Pitts and that's going to be your first read, sometimes you got to look at that potentially your second read. So hey,
Hmm.
you can draw the safety over there. So he won't be
Yes.
sitting right there, sitting on the hash mark, knowing that you're trying to get Kyle Pitts the football in that particular play.
Hmm.
You got to play a little mind games with these
Hmm.
particular defenses because they know coming to the game, they know you're trying to get eight the ball. So
Yes.
what do you have to do in order to do that? You have to play around with certain things a little bit. Peyton Manning was amazing at that. I used to
Hmm.
love watching him going up against the Baltimore Ravens back in the day with he and Ray Lewis when they were playing games at the line of scrimmage and he was checking to this and Ray Lewis would go start barking at his defense, acting like he about to get ready to check to something else. So I think
Hmm.
all of those things you have to. It's a little bit more than just a play call and saying, hey, this is your read. If this is your read, then you get out of there. And I think that's what
Yes.
Mariota's has been doing. And I think that
Hmm.
you can't get the guy that
Yeah.
you want to get the football by doing that,
Hmm.
right? You have to
Yeah.
be able to say, hey, we know that you're going to be our second or third read on here if Drake London's not open on that ball. So people can say, hey, oh yeah, they try to get him the football. When in
Hmm.
actuality, Drake London wasn't open
Right.
and I ended up checking down to Kyle Pitts. So all
Yes.
those things have to kind of come in play when you're talking about getting somebody the football that everybody knows you're trying to get the football. So you have to be creative. And I just don't think that Marcus Mariota has been able to do that. And I'm not blaming Marcus Mariota for this at all. However, he is culpable in this bad boy because I think that locking in on your receivers and Jalen Ramsey had an opportunity to do another almost pick six on
Hmm.
that particular play in the first 3 quarters of that game. So I think right now, I think Marcus Mariota gonna have to work on some of those things, going through the progressions in order to be able to get Kyle Pitts the football because him being your sole read on one particular play is not going to work because teams are already keying in on Kyle Pitts and it just doesn't work like that in the NFL.
Now, when we come back, we'll talk about a quarterback that was much more successful in being able to get through his progressions. And because of that, he almost snuck his way into an opportunity to continue that career. We'll talk about it on the other side and for the culture.